Well, hello. Eddie, how are you doing? What are you doing?
Hey, hey
How's it
Jay, good.
going?
How are you?
Not too bad. It's sunny. I can't complain. This is another Tuesday, my favorite day of the week, of course, because I get to come to you live from Repost Live, your favorite live stream and companion of Repost.aws, where we take your questions, your use cases, and your commentary as we go throughout the show live on air. Who else is bringing you this type of content? Of course, no one. So I've invited my good friend Eddie. We have a lot of AI related topics that we're going to dive into. I'm your host, of course, Jay, and I'm super excited about today. Eddie, what about yourself? Why don't you introduce yourself? Why don't we start with that?
Yeah, thank you, Jay. I've been on the show one time before.
Yeah.
My name is Eddie Yao. I'm a principal TAM with AWS. I'm based in San Francisco Bay Area, and I've been working within the supporting customer within the media entertainment industry, and also focusing a lot on AI ML and agents these days. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. This is super cool. I didn't know you were a repeat visitor. So welcome back to Repost Live. I'm super excited for today's topic. Whenever we have really any topic, but certainly AI topics, I'm always really geeked. But before we dive into operational best practices with Amazon Bedrock agents, I want to let the chat know that first and foremost, if you're not already on Repost, then I won't publicly shame you. I'll be gracious today and give you one more time to head over to repost.aws with your builder ID or account ID and get signed up. You get content from all of us. Again, it's the easiest choice you'll make today and every day. So just head over to repost.aws and get signed up. Also, I'm going to drop a link, or someone, a robot, something is going to drop a link into the survey for me, please. That really helps us dial in the content. Please fill out the survey. It takes like 10 seconds. Please fill that out. So, Eddie, no one comes to listen to me, to be honest, although it hurts my feelings. It's just the facts. They come to Repost Live because we literally bring some of the best content, and especially in this emerging technology area as it pertains to Bedrock agents. And I know that you did us a solid and wrote a really good operational framework that I wanted to start today's show covering as it pertains to AI agents. So let's start here, Eddie. What exactly are AI agents? Again, I'm old enough to remember when just dumping some data in a vector DB and asking basic RAG questions was as emerging as this emerging tech got. And now we're talking about agentic systems, and long are the days of RAG and some of these old things. So what exactly are AI agents? And let's dive into this operational framework.
Happy to. Thank you, Jay. So as you like correctly mentioned it, I think in the world of AI ML, especially like these days, things are getting changed like almost on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
So before we were talking about, invoking LLMs, and then, we have these different kind of tools. And then now we have all sorts of like protocols and things like that for us to leverage. And then we have this amazing thing called agent and the amazing agentic future. We are kind of all picturing together, right? So I'll say in summary, the AI agent, it's basically a autonomous system that leverage the foundation model, which includes the large language model LM, right? And then to being able to reason, plan, and also like execute complete tasks. So that is one of the major difference from what we had before. For example, we see some people ask question about what's the difference between using Bedrock agent versus just calling a LM and get the response back,
Yeah.
and also what's the difference between agent versus a traditional program or application that
Or workflow. Yeah, any basic workflow
exactly.
or yeah.
So the difference I would say is that for agent, it's being able to leverage the more advanced LLM these days, which is also getting improved almost on a very fast basis to reason, like to plan out a specific task, right? So before in a traditional chatbot experience, you may want to talk to the chatbot and like get a response back, but with a agentic system you will be able to have a specific task or goal for an agent, and then they will be able to think, almost like quote unquote think, and then plan out the specific task without like human intervention, and then execute and complete those tasks. That's the main difference.
I got you. So there's a level of autonomy and intelligence that maybe wasn't previously available even in the dawn of Gen AI, that these new agentic systems are enabling really organizations to like really hyper accelerate or accelerate the value that they're getting out of their applications, right? So you note in your article sort of the flavors, if you will, of agents or agent development on AWS, from fully managed specialized agents like Amazon Q to using even an open source framework in Strands. Can we just briefly talk on this? As you mentioned, this is moving super fast. I mean, Strands is what, like a month old or something?
Yes. Yeah, like Strands, I think we're gonna talk more in the future as well for Strands agent specifically. Yeah. But basically, there are like 3 types of AI agents that we can leverage. On the top layer, it's basically the application layer, or you can use the specialized agent. Those are something more specialized for tasks, like for example, Amazon Q in QuickSight, called the scenario capabilities, where it can do a lot of data analysis. It can be your data analysis assistant. Those are like specialized tasks or agents that you can directly leverage. You don't need any coding. You don't need to worry about deployment, etc. And then the second layer, it's kind of like you have a specific use case and you want to build your own agent. And then for on AWS, we have this fully managed service called Amazon Bedrock, right? It offers this capability for us to build our own agents. And then the last one is leveraging open source agent frameworks. Like, we have the recent Strands agents and other popular open source frameworks as well.
A lot of different flavors. I always love the builder mentality that we take with anything and offering customers choice, right? I really enjoy that. Again, like you mentioned, from sort of purpose-built specialized agents, like I've had my fair share of using Q and QuickSight, and it is exceptional for obtaining information very quickly using natural language from just like QuickSight visuals in that. I haven't gotten a chance to play around with Strands just yet, but I found the sort of its origin story and how we use it internally to quickly deploy our own agents across our various internal services to be quite fascinating. So a lot of different choice of AI agents that you highlight in your article, with a lot of really good linked resources. So I definitely appreciate that. Be sure to check that out if you're out there and you're just reading this. But so next you sort of phase into kind of an operational framework for AI agents. Walk me through, because again, because a lot of this is a little net new for a lot of organizations, right? Them adopting even Gen AI, let alone agentic AI within their organizations. It's a new sort of mental model that they may need to incorporate into their technology stack. So do you mind if we kind of walk through some of these AI agent stages from preparation to evolution?
Yeah, definitely. So we kind of, and this one, like we can apply it to different sorts of different types of agents that we talked about. But mostly it will apply to building your own agents. And then in our case, it's using Amazon Bedrock agents, right? So this framework helps you to understand like what are the kind of like put different steps into phases so that you know kind of what to expect, how to take an idea from just being an idea to all the way to production, and then what are some of the operational considerations, right? So like we'll start with the prepare, which is the general like scoping, like planning phase, right? We'll start by like defining what's the business problem that we are trying to solve. We talk about why not all the problems are agentic problems, right? Like some of them can be very straightforward, maybe can use step function, etc.
Yeah.
Once you have a simple use case, then some other consideration. Then we're gonna dip a little bit deeper into in the future in a little bit is to make sure like reviewing the service quota, understand how the service is being built, etc. Right. So the things that's gonna help prepare us to build and deploy our AI agents. The second stage is the actual building of the agent, right? Once we have some ideas about how what kind of use case we want the agent to solve, then we'll take it to actual development. On in our example would be on Bedrock agents. Right. So in the building phase, it's important to consider how to integrate with different systems, and then also like implement some of the control logic, right? Like timeout and retry that is mentioned here, so that the agent is reliable and then doesn't kind of error out and then kind of being a bad customer experience. And then once you have built the agent, the next stage would be to deploy it, right? You may have multiple environments like dev, test, production.
Yeah.
How to make sure that the agent is the state, it's consistent throughout different environments. But also like once you deploy it to production, after you make different new versions, how we can leverage this great practice called infrastructure as code to like codify the infrastructure and then track the code changes and infrastructure changes in there. So that is deploy. The fourth stage is the actual operate, the running of the agent, right? Like once you build it, once you deploy it, now what are the things that we should consider when we run the AI agent for production system, right? So in here, some of the things that we should consider how to set up the correct monitoring and logging, metrics, and also tracing capabilities for the agent. And then we'll look at some of the concrete examples in a little bit as well, so that we can understand, especially you have like a multi-agent collaboration thing going on. It's important to understand like how the agent is thinking, how it's behaving, how it's collaborating with other agents. So that is the running and operating phase of the agent. And last but not least is the evolve, right? Once you have a good practice building, running, deploying your AI agents in production, now you can think about how to scale it out, right? You may have a more complex use case, maybe built on top of the existing simple use case that you have, and then leverage this awesome open source protocols to do amazing things like calling tools, calling APIs, or calling other agents, right? So those are, and continuous optimization in terms of cost and performance, etc.
Very cool and extremely detailed. Again, I just want to to call out the fact that you really jam-packed a lot of really good resources, linkable resources for each of these phases in the article, which I think is super cool. I'd also probably plug that some of these aspects of this framework, like model evaluation, as an example, we covered here on Repost, previously with my good buddy Raj, and so there's some good content out there on Repost. There's some linked content in the article for anyone who is sort of digesting this framework and really trying to glean how they can deploy agents within their organization. So this is super cool. There are some aspects, as you were kind of talking, that I want to double click on. Specifically, you mentioned step functions and implementing different workflows, and that as always, we always try to double click on what the community is saying as it pertains to this topic. And relative to step function in particular, there was a user, Amavi, if I'm saying that correctly, Eddie, who mentioned a use case that was honestly pretty simplistic and pretty common, really just leveraging Bedrock agents for interactions with a knowledge base for a pretty kind of simple construction use case where there's some building codes and descriptions, and effectively they want to use AI to kind of answer some questions regarding that construction data. But the question really was probed of agents versus step functions in this case. And it made me kind of think of your kind of build phase or some of the distinctions between when I'd use one technology or the other. So curious to get your thoughts on this question.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is exactly how we want to think about the difference between AI agents versus some of the traditional application, right? Leveraging, say step function.
Yeah.
I'll say the main difference is that, using agents, you'll be able to leverage its autonomous kind of task planning, like break out the things that you want to do into different specific tasks. I plan it out and then actually doing those tasks. Versus like step functions, you'll be more like human kind of controlled. Like you define the specific steps in the workflow. And then you can, in each step, you can actually do API or, do different tasks, etc. So that is the main difference. AI agent would be more autonomous and leverage the LLM capability to, to think, to plan, to execute. And then step function would be more a defined, like you already have a structured workflow that you wanted to kind of go through.
And as you noted in your kind of prepare phase, right? Like everything is not an agentic use case, right? You may have some well-defined business logic that still fits into kind of the construct of just using step functions or Lambda or something, right? Just to execute a particular set of steps, kind of pre-laid out steps, right? But if you want some more intelligence or autonomy, that's where some of these agentic systems could be advantageous.
Yeah, like I link this Bedrock Flows feature in there as well. And, some of the other examples could be, if you are just want to kind of combine different prompts into one workflow, right? You don't necessarily need to have an agent to do all that planning. And then if you just want to kind of combine them into a workflow, you can do so. Or if you simply want to like invoke an LLM and then like say to summarize an article or to generate an email or something like that, you don't necessarily need an agent. Like you can just invoke an API to Bedrock, for example, to get a response back.
That makes sense. Okay, cool. So a healthy distinction there. I'm going to upvote that because effectively what the community responded with was really spot on to your guidance there, Eddie. So another item that I wanted to pick your brain on was really around any constraints, or we always try to look around corners or get a sense of what the community is saying relative to their actual use of these technologies, right? It's one thing to consume a flashy deck about how this technology should work on the surface, but when folks get in and start adapting it to real world use cases, we always like that they come to repos first to ask questions about potential issues that you're facing. So found this one and wanted to pick your brain on, and it's really around request rate errors and what guidance, regardless of the model, honestly. This one asks specifically about Anthropic Claude, but you could really kind of consider this type of request rate limiting or just your understanding of how you can interact with these models for any model, for any use case. So what can we educate the audience out there as it pertains to consumption of models and any ways to optimally use these without getting request limited?
Yeah, that's definitely a very good and common questions that we get from a lot of customers building AI agents, right? Actually, if I may share my screen, and then I can walk it through kind of the, we call it this amazing feature called Service Quota, which is trying to set the guardrails for you to build on AWS, right? So in case there's any sort of cost concern, or it's a guardrail related features. So if you can see here, and then we can drop the link, share the link here to the audience if anyone wanted to follow through as well. So for Bedrock, you can see quite a lot of service quota specifically. There are things that's specific to the rate limiting, which I think it's what the question was about, like hitting the rate limits and getting throttle on service quota specifically. So we also have this amazing service called directly called Service Quota. You can actually go to the AWS console and then go into Service Quota. And then in there, when you filter it out, Amazon Bedrock, you can see all the service quota you have for Bedrock. And then for some of the questions that we get, we can see what is being applied to the account and then what is the default limit, right? So the difference is that for the applied value is the actual value that's getting applied to your account. Like say for this account that I have set up, I only have one inference request, which is the throughput, right? It's the RPM for this specific model, Clausonic. So if I make requests to this model, for like concurrently, like say 2 requests per minute, then I'm getting the throttling error. That's kind of like the base of it. So what I usually recommend is go to the page where you can reference all the service quota for Amazon Bedrock, and then you can search for that specific model. You can just do a browser search, and then you can see what are the different service quotas available there. And then once you identify the service quota that you may be hitting, then you can request a increase inside the console directly in here. So let me try an example to increase one in here.
Yeah, we should note, pretty applicable, right, for any AWS service, right? And so a lot of this is going to maybe be familiar with folks who consume other service APIs, and that Bedrock's no different. So being aware of the quotas as it pertains to sort of your workload structure, your account structure, et cetera, is going to be critical to being successful in that deploy phase, as you mentioned in your framework. As you pull that up, for anyone that just maybe stumbled upon the stream, you are live with Repos Live. We're covering Bedrock agents, which is one of my favorite topics. Feel free to ask us a question. Do you have any use cases for Bedrock agents? Any stumbling blocks? Anything? We'll take questions live on air. Drop them in chat. We'll take them live on air. Eddie it's taken us through the service quotas that are specifically or specific to Bedrock agents that you might want to be aware of. And we've dropped the full link there as well for all of those quotas. So I see what the default quota value of 11 for, what is this? The maximum number of APIs that you can add to an agent.
Yep. So this one, I actually just tried out yesterday, and then I was able to increase it. So the same way you can, through the UI, you can increase the service quota. Yeah. If it's not something that automatically approved, it will create a AWS support case for you. And then you will go through kind of the normal support case process to review that service quota. And then you can mention the specific requirements and the use case if you are requesting a large quota increase.
Yeah, and customers, as you have noted here in your demo, can proactively do this, right? But you also mentioned in your article Countdown Premium, which for any customers out there that leverage this, the enterprise support offering of Countdown Premium, your account team can also help you with some of these aspects of deploying and scaling your production Gen AI use cases as well. So I know I've seen this start to be deployed for customers as they deploy all sorts of Gen AI use cases, and really has a high success rate for customers that are maybe just dabbling in this space.
Yeah, we know that a lot of the organizations are trying out, deploying and building Gen AI applications on AWS. Yep. And then we have this amazing solution under AWS support called KAM Premium, which with that there is a page you can find out more information and. Look at that. Sometimes, we can offer limited promotion. So definitely take a look at that. Basically, with Countdown Premium, you will get assigned with a designated, like say, Bedrock agent specific trained engineer for your workload, so that they will be able to, help you prepare your Gen AI application from start to beginning. And then they will be able to provide you all the proactive technical guidance, reviewing the service quota that I mentioned to you, setting up, reviewing metrics, and then making sure, like, if you hit any issues, like during this, from idea to production, end-to-end process, they will be able to have that context and then being able to accelerate the issue resolution for you, so that when you actually, push the button to deploy it to production, then, the engineer will have all the context to understand your workload and then being able to troubleshoot and then accelerate the resolution for you. So it's definitely a cool program to check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're an enterprise customer out there, there's no reason why you should not explore this. Please don't suffer in silence, as my wife tells me. Ask for help. Premium is here to accelerate those use cases that you may have, that backlog of Gen AI use cases that you want to get out there in prod, you want to deploy value for your organization. So I wanted to, Eddie, did you have anything else on this front? I wanted to get to some of the kind of build and operate aspects as it pertains to another pretty hot topic, which is throttling.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I know some of the service quotas is kind of one part of the equation, but there's also a lot of chatter out there in the ethos about throttling for from some users that have been bumping their head up against a potential throttling of as they consume different models.
Yeah, there are definitely common questions and issues that customer may get. These two article, I think, are very great resource to reference whenever you hit either a throttling errors. I see a lot of questions posting on repos, mentioning exactly the same,
Yeah.
like they are getting errors about too many requests, please wait before try it again, or too many tokens, etc. So it's definitely a common questions that we get, or issues that customer may encounter, right? So some of the strategy to mitigate, one we just talked about is to manage the service quota, right?
Yeah.
And then
Right.
or leverage the AWS resource. If you are enterprise support, you have a TAM, or if you sign up for the KAM Premium, one is the service quota.
Yep.
And then some of the other ones are more like a strategy or a architecture design patterns, right? To mitigate some of the following errors. I'll give you one example. So we also have this amazing feature called cross-region inference for Bedrock, right? So what it does is basically it automatically and intelligently kind of like route your Bedrock request to another region. So as you can see in some of these service quotas, they are like region-based specific quota, like rate limiting, or how many tokens you can hit for that region in total, right? So one strategy is leverage some of these built-in Bedrock agents to build this reliable architecture. That is one specific thing. The other one would be, similarly, the prompt routing strategy, right? So the prompt routing strategy, it's basically, again, is to kind of like diversify your LLM invocation, right?
Mm-hmm.
For cross-region inference, it's more like, you divert from one region to another region. With like intelligent prompt routing, it's automatically kind of route from based on your use case to route to different LLMs, right? Like, like for example, with Anthropic Claude, there are like, Claude 3 Sonic, there's like Claude 3 Haiku.
Yeah.
And then some of those, are more capable LLMs that deal with like very complex reasoning, or, completion. But like sometimes, if it's just a simple task, then may not need to call a Sonic like Opus V4 to get that done, right? So intelligent prompt routing is being able to understand the user request and then route those requests to different LM, so that you don't hit that specific model at the same time. That's another one. Another one, I'll kind of leave it there. It's the prompt caching, right? It's also a good strategy that to mitigate some of these flowing errors, because with prompt caching, what it does is it can cache some of the prompts or response that you use for the LM, and then to return it, so that avoid kind of like the throttling or rate limiting hitting that actual LM request again and again. So those are some of the strategies. And then for others, common ones like retry and exponential backup, those are common ones that apply to all the application as well. And then yeah, the other one you can reference to these two good articles.
Okay, great. Yeah, a lot of good strategies in there to help, kind of proactively provide different ways for folks to alleviate and bypass some of these heartburns, right? But of course, as you noted, if you are interested in more of a proactive approach, you could adopt CDP, and they could help you retrofit one of these strategies to your specific use case. Prompt caching that you mentioned, I know that's like 2 months old, I think. That just recently went GA. I'll drop that in chat. So a lot of these strategies, and again, this space is evolving so quickly. So I think these are all really good tools to have in your tool belt to avoid any sort of throttling issues or frustrations as you go as you scale these use cases.
And actually, one last thing before I forget is the provision throughput, which is right. Like we started with on demand, and then knowing that like provision throughput and on demand, like we have different service quota that you can reference in the previous page. So if you have like consistency that you want to achieve without throttling, then you can consider purchasing provision throughput.
Gotcha. Okay. And I'll drop because there was, I think, Jacob and Callie had some questions on repos as it pertains to what you shared, which is the kind of too many requests, please wait, or please wait before trying again. I'll drop that article for both Callie and for Jacob right here on repo, so that they can hopefully get around some of these heartburn issues. It looks like the community has already provided a bit of response. This appears to be one of the most active threads out here. So a really common pain point for some customers. So I'm happy that we provided some guidance on this front. Okay, next topic I want to get to. I'd say maybe we're in the deploy phase. What do you think, Eddie? IAC. Let's
sounds good.
Let's start a war out there. What's your favorite IAC tool of choice? No, I came across this question. Let me see if I can pull it up as it pertains to, the deployment of some of these agents, and again, as it pertains to deployment of all sites, all things. I guess I've started to play around with a little bit of MCP to deploy some stuff out there. That's been a little fun. But I wanted to pick your brain on this guy. Oh, no, that's not the one. The best, let's see if I can get here. Let's drag this over. The best IAC tool for multi-agent Bedrock architecture. Mareem, I hope I'm saying that right. Sorry, Mareem, if you're out there, is working on was curious what IAC tool is best for this chatbot solution that they are working on. Was curious if you had a preference, Eddie, Terraform or Cloud Formation or anything else that you like out there. Obviously, both are supported, but wanted to pick your brain on this. Oh, it looks like the Repos agent and the community are all over this. What do you think about this?
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's more like a kind of picking whether you like Japanese food or American food, kind of what kind of cuisine you like, right? To me, I think it's more like what kind of already tools that you have in place currently, right? Like say if you already have a deployment and CI/CD deployment pipeline, or using one of those like CloudFormation or Terraform for your other AWS service deployment, you can leverage either one of them. It really kind of like have the same support for Bedrock agents. We can share some of the detailed references. There's reference for how to use Terraform, for example, to deploy it. And then you can use CDK, or even recently I saw that you can use the serverless, the SAM approach to deploy it as well. Because like when you think about it, it makes sense, right? Like Bedrock and Lambda, all those are like serverless services. So It ultimately depends on like what kind of existing process you have, but we support all of them.
Yeah, but you never said, what do you like, Japanese or American food? Take a side, Eddie. Take a side, man. We all want to
I
know.
I think I learned about this new dish just before the show. I
Yeah.
may try it out.
For those who weren't backstage at Repost Live, we were educating Eddie on green bean casserole, or the fascination with casseroles in the Midwest. And Eddie has yet to have one. So I'm gonna bake you some green bean casserole. It's gonna be hearty. Don't plan on doing anything after you eat it.
Sounds good.
Napping.
Yeah, sounds,
Just like a solid nap is what you need after it. But
yeah.
okay, so you've picked a side. So do you have a preference? I won't yell at you if it's not cloud formation. Doesn't matter. You don't care.
No, yeah, I don't really have a preference. Yeah, I think either way worked. Like if you haven't tried the Terraform
Yeah.
or etc., then you may use CloudFormation. But ultimately, they are the same. Like they're built on top. I would say CloudFormation. It's more like a kind of a foundation layer that you will need to like define it. A lot of customers they like to build it into the code, so they would like to use CDK or even like for example would be SAM.
Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Terraform's got to be one of the most widely adopted and used tool out there. I think Pulumi's a dark horse in this fight. I have supported some customers who are Pulumi shops, but all of the necessary modules in that you would need to deploy IOC via Terraform is the way to go. So,
Yep.
do you have a demo on this front, Eddie? Anything to?
Yes, I do. Let me share my screen here. So this is the, I'll just go through it quickly, given the time. So basically you can define all the elements for your CloudFormation template.
Yeah.
And then here's the link that mentions about what are the required elements for the CloudFormation. Right, so you can see at the minimal, you can just define the agent name and then the resource role, AIN, that the agent would use to kind of like consume different services and etc. And then you just keep the foundation model ID. That's the bare minimum that you can, and then as simple as that, you can create an AI agent. Of course, you can go very fancy, and here's the the whole kind of definition for everything that you can do.
Yeah. Okay. Quite a few properties out there that allow me a good amount of flexibility. Thanks for. We'll share that in chat. Can you scroll up to the JSON? I was curious. I thought I saw a parameter that caught my eye. No.
Yeah, I can share a. If I can switch screen, let me
switch screens. We can't do that on this, Eddie. We don't have the budget. We don't have the budget to be switching screens, man. No, no. What are you fancy? What are you thinking about?
But basically, it's the same thing. It's just on my IDE that
Okay.
has the actual value. But we can look at this one for the for the timing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, pretty straightforward, right? Those parameters all look pretty straightforward. So, again, I think as you mentioned with your food analogy, right? It's just going to come down to what your organization is supporting today, what you feel comfortable with, and deploying. But super easy lift to get agents out there and deployed. And as your article notes, there's a number of different strategies and resources you can leverage to ensure that your future swarm of agents are all very performant and are ultimately returning the value, right, that your organization saw when you developed them to begin with.
Yep. And I just wanted to quickly mention for you to deploy an agent, you will need to create an alias for your agent as well. We don't need to deep dive into this topic, but I'll just post the link here. And then you can take a look before you deploy your own agent.
Okay, cool. I think I have so much homework and like 15 different use cases now that I'm learning so much about these agents. Can we cover some observability topics, Eddie? Do you mind?
Yeah.
Tracing is something you mentioned, I believe, in your article as we get more into the operational phase, right? Again,
Yes.
many organizations leverage, CloudWatch, Datadog, or different partners, right, to ensure that they have sort of end-to-end telemetry as their existing workloads in the cloud are operating or on-prem, and allows them to kind of support them. And, Gen AI is no different, right? There's logging, tracing, et cetera, that allows you to really understand either like the chain of thought that your agents took or how they're performing, et cetera, troubleshooting different things within the model invocation logs, et cetera. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the operational aspects. And in particular, I want to double click on tracing with X-Ray if we can.
Yes. If I can share my screen, I can show you how to turn it on. There are two specific features that I want to show. And it's very critical for Bedrock agent specifically. One is the model invocation logging, right? So you can turn it on into the settings in your Amazon Bedrock service, and then you can store that either in S3 or CloudWatch logs or both. Here's what I did both. Basically, what it does is logging each invocation, model invocation to the LLM. And then it will give you all the details about that specific invocation, including, when the Bedrock agent calls that specific model. And then I did, let me do a live demo of this so you can see it.
Okay. And so this is going to give me a lot more kind of fidelity about my agentic system that I could act on. Yes?
Yeah, like you can track how many tokens it's being used, all the details. And then I'll give you a quick show. We can test it in the console here. This is a simple hello world agent. So if it's just always returning hello world.
Okay.
But what we want to see, it's the actual log about the invocation. So now it's doing it's a multi-agent, like two agent collaborating with each other. And then let me show the invocation log first, and then we can show quickly the trace of the two agents.
Security first, sir. Renew that token before you do anything else. All right. Sign back in there.
Exactly. Yeah. Refresh the session.
I mean, enabling that was pretty straightforward, though, Eddie. Like it wasn't an extremely verbose process here. And now I get what log events am I looking at?
Yeah, so now I'm showing the CloudWatch log. Since I store it in CloudWatch logs, I just jump right into the CloudWatch log group that I created for this. And then you can see, these are the three requests the agents make, right? I won't go into the details, but once you set it up, you can see all the details yourself. It shows you like what are the prompt or the instruction that your agent use. Everything is being logged, like the actual parameters, the actual message that you input into the agent, and then what is the output, right? Some of the things that may be helpful is what is the token being used, right? Like, for example, here, the input token count, like how many token, this input count, and then what is the output token count in here, right? So this is because one major factor of Bedrock, it's being built on the amount of tokens for each model, right? So this kind of observability is important. And then, so this is the invocation log. And then for the tracing, I'll show you quickly here as well, because it's a multi-agent. So you can see that, for example, in here, first of all, you can see the trace timeline between the two agents. I have one supervisor and then one worker agents here collaborating with each other, even though it's just, always return hello world, but at least they're collaborating. And then in the trace, you can see in the UI here that how it's actually collaborating. So what is the, the message it's being, what is the trace ID, things like that. Here are all the details. You can see it. There's also another amazing article that you can integrate the trace logs into X-ray to have more live visualization. And also there is a solution that you can integrate with the open telemetry solution as well, that we can drop the link here, and then you can take a look.
Man, jam-packed. I learned so much. This is a lot to digest. I'm glad that you wrote it in a consolidated, in a nice, concise article, Eddie, because like I said, I got a lot of homework to do on some of these aspects I'm familiar with, but the space is moving so rapidly that I definitely will leverage your article as like a reference, honestly, going forward. So any last words as we kind of wrap up here, Eddie? I know we covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah. I think last thing I would just, that's kind of like the exact goal that I try to accomplish, is trying to kind of put things together so that, customers, when they build and deploy and run their agents, they can turn to repos and then look at what are the things that I should consider, this different reference points. And then it will keep evolving, right? Like technology change, there's new LLM, there's new features. And then, we'll keep updating the article. Hopefully it will still be helpful for you to build and run your AI agent.
Yeah. Eddie, I want to thank you for coming on, man. This is, again, the space is moving so rapidly that I'm glad that we have folks like you out there curating content for our audience and any AWS practitioner out there. So if you're new to this topic, if this was your first Repost Live episode, please check out Eddie's article here on operational framework for AI agents. It covers everything from preparation and iteration of an agentic system all the way to evolution and scale of that agentic architecture within your organization, and all of the nuance that is included there. So Eddie, thank you so much for this. I wish we had more time, but we do have to wrap. For those who are out there, again, be sure to head over to repost.aws, get signed up with your account ID or your builder ID. And you know what you should do while you're signed up? The first thing you should do when you sign up is you should go to Repost Live, the Repost Live tag, and follow the show. That's how you'll get alerted about new content, new shows, etc., that are upcoming, including our next episode, which we're going to be shooting next Tuesday, July 8th, right after the holiday, 2 p.m. Pacific, where we're going to be double clicking on another AI agent topic, how to build an AI agent on Bedrock. So we'll double click on this topic today. It's going to be the month of AI, so I am super excited. And you can head over to repost.aws right now, find this article, and get the conversation started and ask a question that we'll take online. I don't have a good question for you, but you can head over to this article and start asking questions, and we will take those next Tuesday, July 8th, 2 p.m. Pacific, when we get going. Eddie, thank you so much, man. This has been super fun. I look forward to our next topic for you out there. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, happy building.